we come together this morning right in the heart of cities, London and Westminster constituency, where we are campaigning to turn this area yellow. Is a sign of the huge growth of support that we have seen within our party. We have thousands more activists, we have thousands more supporters and members offering our country hope. We are here at an exciting time, but it is also the most serious of times and moments where we have the opportunity to change our nation's course, where we have an opportunity to change the chaos that we find ourselves in the midst of, which could stop Brexit. Because for too many, things are not working as they should be. We see the Conservatives and Labour stuck in the past, failing time and again to deliver a better future. How often have people in this room been out on the doorstep and heard people not being able to decide which would be the worst option? Boris Johnson, fostering a hostile environment in our country, or Jeremy Corbyn, who has failed to root out anti-Semitism in his party. We have two Brexiteers who are sowing fear in our communities, and what a poor offer that is. Two leaders and two parties stuck in the past, failing time and time again. But thankfully there is another choice, a positive choice, a choice which will see us remain in the European Union. A Liberal Democrat government will stop Brexit and build a brighter future. And I'm so excited to be able to take our ambitious plan for the future of our country out on the doorstep, out to the country where every person, every community and our planet can thrive, protected for future generations, where if you work hard and play by the rules, you can secure a happy, fulfilling life, where every single person and community is valued, empowered and cared for, and where the relationship between business and our communities in which they operate is reinvented, that they are part of the solution to our biggest challenges, not the problem. It is now my great pleasure to introduce to you a woman who represents our country's future and a new way of doing politics. She is a woman who has proven time and time again that she is willing to stand up and be counted and to be an absolute champion for Remainers in our country. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you our Liberal Democrat candidate for Prime Minister, Jo Swinson.
Welcome to this Liberal Democrat campaign launch, and I am excited for the weeks ahead. I am excited to stand here as your candidate for Prime Minister, because a Liberal Democrat government will stop Brexit and build a brighter future. People will ask, what's happened to the Liberal Democrats? Why are they being so ambitious all of a sudden? We're being ambitious because we can be and because we have to be. Politics is in a state of flux. The fault line is no longer about left versus right. It's about values. Whether we are open or closed, liberal, authoritarian. We all know this. The only uncertainty is what will emerge. Whether, as the two big old tired parties hope, that things will go back to business as usual. Or whether this is a moment of more seismic change. Whether a new and different politics can emerge. Millions of voters have that choice in their hands at this election. Don't let anyone tell you what has to happen. Change is possible, and you get to choose. Like the MPs, like Luciana, like Sam, like Sarah, like Chuka, who chose to join the Liberal Democrats, to leave those tired old parties that are stuck in the past and join us and be part of creating something new and exciting for our politics, for our country. Like the millions of voters who chose to elect Liberal Democrat MEPs earlier this year, for the first time in a century, seeing the Liberal Democrats beat both the Conservatives and the Labour Party in a national election. Like the tens of thousands of new Liberal Democrat members and activists who have joined our party, swelling our numbers, and who are getting stuck in, some of them already standing to be MPs at this election. And why are we experiencing this success? It's because of our values. It's because that is what many people feel is under threat. Since that referendum result in 2016, it wasn't just about EU institutions and what you thought of the European Parliament and the European Commission or the Council. It's about who we are as a country. It's about the choices that we make. Whether or not we think it's a good thing to work with other countries, with our closest neighbours, to meet our shared challenges, both as the UK family of nations and also in our European Union. It's about whether you think it makes sense to tackle the climate emergency as 28 countries together, governments agreeing and acting in unison to have more power and more influence to make the changes we need to save our planet for future generations. It's about whether you think we are better working together to rebalance the relationship between business and society when you have the power of 500 million consumers together. It's about recognising that all four nations of our country are better when we are standing strong together. Scotland, England, Wales, Northern Ireland, our wonderful United Kingdom. I will never stop fighting for our United Kingdom because we are stronger together and it is precious and we must not let people wreck it. Yeah. It's about recognising that immigration is good for our country. It helps our public services. We all benefit from people coming here and contributing to our society. It's about realising that society is stronger for the advances that have been made by feminism, by LGBT rights, by fighting against racism. It's about recognising that our humanity does not stop at our borders. We have to do this, Liberal Democrats. This is not a normal election. It's not a typical choice about whether you want the red team or the blue team to be in government for a few more years. In other times, in these circumstances, Liberal Democrats might have looked to double our seats, maybe a bit more. Our country needs us to be more ambitious right now, and we are rising to that challenge. Because this choice is about the future of our country for generations to come. It is not about the red team or the blue team, because on this issue, they merge into one. Both Labour and the Conservatives want to negotiate and deliver Brexit. I never thought that I would stand here and say that I'm a candidate to be Prime Minister. But when I look at Boris Johnson and Jeremy Corbyn, I am absolutely certain I could do a better job than either of them. be wrecked because someone said there are unwritten rules in politics that the Liberal Democrats can't aim for government. Anyone who says that is wrong. This is an election, it's about a choice, and people can choose a Liberal Democrat government. And we know, when we look at the others, that Boris Johnson only cares about Boris Johnson. He is not fit to be Prime Minister. He has always put his own interest ahead of the national interest. Even way back to when he decided which side he was going to back in the referendum campaign. Most people picked a side because of what they believed and genuinely argued for that position. Not Boris Johnson, no. He wrote 2 different columns and decided which one would give him the best chance of being Prime Minister. What more do you need to know that shows he is unfit to be Prime Minister? He lied to the Queen, he lied to Parliament, and he lied to the country. And we know that in this election, he's going to head around the country trying to flog his bad Brexit deal. But we all know the damage that that will do to our economy. With his big lies, his brash promises, and his attitude to women, it's clear who Boris Johnson is modelling himself on. Donald Trump. Of course, Donald Trump thinks that Boris is a wonderful guy, a great gentleman. I'm not sure that Donald Trump is the best arbiter of who's a gentleman. But Britain deserves better than Britain's Donald Trump. And Jeremy Corbyn. Where do we start? Jeremy Corbyn will not give you a straight answer on the biggest issue facing this country. It is clear a vote for Labour is a vote for Brexit. Every single time Jeremy Corbyn refuses to say whether he would vote to remain or leave, it's clear that Remainers cannot trust Jeremy Corbyn with their votes. Boris Johnson says he wants to get Brexit done. Just this morning, Jeremy Corbyn is in Harlow giving a speech about how he would get Brexit sorted. Spot the difference. Red or blue, it's all Brexit. It's all bad for our country. And wanting to stay in Europe is about choosing the kind of country that we want to be. Whether we are open or closed, whether we're generous or selfish, whether we stand united with our friends or stand alone in the world, whether we say no to the populists in the White House and the Kremlin or follow their example, whether we fight for our children's future or gamble with their chance in life. We can have hope. It can be different. We can stop Brexit, and we Liberal Democrats will stop Brexit. And when we stop Brexit, we will be able to use that Remain bonus to invest in our public services. We're the only party standing up to say that we will stop Brexit and build a brighter future. And everybody knows Brexit has taken longer and cost more than anyone said that it would. But any type of Brexit will damage our economy, will cost jobs, and starve our public services of the resources that they need. So we know that that Remain bonus will be £50 billion that we can spend on our public services, investing in our schools and in the welfare system to help the poorest in our society. So every vote for the Liberal Democrats is a vote to stop Brexit and invest that £50 billion in our public services. Because for too many people, things aren't working like they should be. Our country needs change. Because too often working hard and playing by the rules is not enough. Not enough to guarantee a happy and secure future for themselves and their family. 1 in 5 people in the UK are living in poverty, of which 4.6 million are children. When I think of the constituents that I've seen in my surgery, having to wait 5 weeks to get their universal credit payments, relying on charity and goodwill of neighbours to make ends meet in the interim. When you think about the chances in life that people have, the life expectancy of a baby boy born down the road in Kensington and Chelsea, 9 years longer than a baby boy born in Blackpool. We can do better. Our country can be better. My vision is to have a country where if someone works hard and plays by the rules, they are rewarded with a decent home, enough money to get by and live with dignity. Where every child and young person is nurtured and supported to become whoever they want to be, no matter who their parents are, how much money they have, or the colour of their skin. Where the most vulnerable can always get the help they need, with no judgment or sanction. Where every single person can be themselves, be who they are, and thrive in our society. We all achieve more when we do it together. A brighter future is possible. So many people have felt dismay in recent years when they look at our politics, but I know we can be better than this. There is a brighter future possible. So at this election, vote Liberal Democrat to stop Brexit and build a brighter future. I think we have some members of the media here. I think I can see where they are. Laura Kunsberg.
Thank you very much. Jo Swinson, you said this morning you want to bring the country together. But how would you do that if your plan is to disregard the vote of millions of people in the referendum of 2016, whether that's campaigning to stop Brexit in another referendum, or if you achieved your dream of a majority, revoking it altogether without even having another public vote?
As Liberal Democrats, we're standing up for what we believe in and being very honest and straightforward about that. I recognise there are differences of opinion on this issue. And I think people recognise and appreciate that we are consistent and we are firm in what we are standing for. I think it's also true that there is very little reason to have confidence that there is a majority in this country for any specific Brexit path. So Theresa May's Brexit wasn't acceptable to Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson's Brexit isn't acceptable to Nigel Farage. There isn't a Brexit that commands the majority. We want to stop Brexit, and if we get a majority Liberal Democrat government, that is exactly what we will do. And we have led the campaign for a people's vote, which would put a specific Brexit deal to the public and say, these are the details. This is what has been negotiated. Do you want to go ahead with that specific Brexit deal? And I believe that in those circumstances, people would vote to remain because I don't think there is a majority for any specific Brexit. Robert Peston.
Hello, Joe. Can you tell me when in history a party has come from your position in the polls to win a general election and form a government? Isn't the truth that your enthusiasm for triggering a general election was about winning a few extra seats, but at the potential cost of delivering the Brexit you say that you hate?
Not at all. We have been motivated by how we can best stop Brexit, and we have campaigned for a people's vote. We have put down amendments in Parliament 17 times. And if others had wholeheartedly got behind that, then we might have been having a people's vote on a Brexit deal instead of a general election.
But it was important that we did not waste the extension that was granted by the European Union, because there were no guarantees that there would be a further extension. And so it became the case that a general election is now the best route to stopping Brexit. Now, you mentioned history. I mean, a few years ago, the Canadian Liberal Party came from third place in the opinion polls to win a majority. Stranger things have happened in our own country. I vividly remember the 2015 general election when the SNP went from 6 to 56 seats in Scotland. So I think, and I believe, politics is different now because that fault line has shifted. And it is in the hands of the people in this country to decide how that changes. But that change is absolutely possible, and that is why we are standing here today and we are setting out our ambitious plans for a Liberal Democrat government. Laura from Sky.
Hi, Laura Bunnett from Sky. A lot of talk about the television debates at the moment. You've agreed to our debate. What is your message to Boris Johnson and Jeremy Corbyn?
My message is I hope to see you there, or if not, what are you afraid of? As I said to Boris in Parliament last week, are you worried about taking on a girly SWAT? Thank you to Sky for recognising the nature of the debate and the choice facing our country at this election. I think it is ridiculous to suggest that the country is well served by a debate between two men who want to leave the European Union, squabbling over how they'll do it. That voice for Remain, that I stand here as Liberal Democrat leader to represent, has to be heard in those debates, and I cannot wait to take on Boris Johnson and Jeremy Corbyn in that debate. Mike from the Herald.
Hi, Joe. In July, Nick Clegg said that Brexit would mean the clock is ticking on the end of the United Kingdom. Do you agree with Nick?
Often, but not always. Look, I think it is fair to say that we're in a dangerous time for our United Kingdom. And I particularly recognise that with the deal that Boris Johnson has brought back, where he stood and he said he would never accept, and never as Conservative Prime Minister, accept a border in the Irish Sea, and that is exactly what he has come back with. He has been prepared to sell out the people of Northern Ireland because everything is about him and about him being Prime Minister. And that's what I mean when I say he does not care about anything else. As you know, Mike, I'm a strong supporter of our United Kingdom, of Scotland playing our full role in the United Kingdom, and I genuinely believe that we are stronger as those four nations working in partnership together. And the reason I believe we are better as Scotland in the UK is the same reason why we believe the UK is better off in the European Union. It is that you achieve more when you work together with your closest neighbours, where you share values, you share history, you share economic trade, and you share culture. So I will always be a strong supporter of the United Kingdom. I recognise that these are difficult and dangerous times for the UK when it's now only the Liberal Democrats who are standing up for the United Kingdom and keeping the United Kingdom together. You have the SNP obviously trying to break up the UK, you have the Labour Party aiding and abetting them in that, and the Conservatives' Brexit deal undermining the relationship of Northern Ireland with the rest of the United Kingdom. So these are dangerous times, but we are determined to stand firm for the United Kingdom. Gary from Channel 4. No? Fine. Andy from 5 News.
Thanks very much. Thank you. Andy Bell, 5 News. You've said Jeremy Corbyn is unfit to be Prime Minister, but I imagine there are a lot of Remainers out there who would like to hear you say, in the event of a hung Parliament, that you would in some way help Jeremy Corbyn to get into Downing Street with the promise of an EU referendum. Are you really ruling out the idea that in those circumstances you could put Jeremy Corbyn into Downing Street if he was offering a referendum?
I'm absolutely, categorically ruling out Liberal Democrat votes putting Jeremy Corbyn into number 10. And let me tell you why. On so many grounds, Jeremy Corbyn is not fit for the job of Prime Minister. On the biggest issue of the day, he is prevaricated and will not give a straight answer. Even now, if you ask him whether he is remain or leave, he will not tell you how he would vote. His plans for the economy would take us back to the 1970s. I believe he would be a threat to our national security. I don't fancy the idea of Jeremy Corbyn as Prime Minister. The first task of which a Prime Minister has to do is write instructions to commanders in our submarine fleet. But most importantly, the reason why people remain is about values. And one of those values that is so important is the value of equality. For recognising that people can be themselves as individuals, whatever the colour of their skin, whatever God they pray to, whoever they are. And Jeremy Corbyn's complete and utter failure to root out anti-Semitism in his own party is a just total dereliction of duty when it comes to protecting that value of equality. You know, we have Luciana Berger here today, a fantastic Liberal Democrat MP. She didn't want to leave the Labour Party. She was driven out of the Labour Party, and just a few weeks ago, we saw Louise Ellman in the same position. You know, anybody as a party leader in that situation should be very clearly examining their conscience about what is happening in that party. And even now, he does not do it. He dismisses that the problem is even there. He is not fit to be Prime Minister of our United Kingdom. Torkel.
Joe Torkel, Crichton Daily Record. I'm not a girly swat, so you have to explain this to me. How can you be for a second referendum on Europe, but against a democratic mandate for a second referendum on independence? And if you have a majority of Lib Dems, that's a majority to remain in Europe. So surely an SNP majority at Holyrood is a majority to leave the UK.
Well, I've already set out to Mike the positions for why we believe that Scotland's better in the UK and the UK in the EU. But let me explain how I see the difference in those two issues. We are currently in a gridlock, a crisis, an impasse, which is about the Brexit issue. Politics is focusing on precious little else, and it needs to be resolved. We believe the best way to resolve that is to stop Brexit, to end that chaos, and have government be able to get on with focusing on making people's lives better. And that would resolve the issue, would end the chaos, whether we do that through a Liberal Democrat government revoking Article 50 or through a people's vote that puts a specific Brexit deal to the public. What the SNP want is to take a situation where there is already chaos as a result of Brexit and add more chaos to the mix. We know what the IndyRef was like in 2014. We know the uncertainty it caused for business, the reduction in investment, the impact that that had on jobs and people's lives. So that would be adding new and extra uncertainty and chaos, which frankly is the last thing that Scotland or the rest of the UK needs right now. That's why I will not be supporting IndyRef 2. Peter from The Guardian.
Hi. Thanks, Joe. You've been very, very clear that you would not support either Jeremy Corbyn or Boris Johnson. But is there not a danger that you've not outlined what you would do? So, for example, could you rule out propping up a Conservative government under any other person? And can you go into any more details into the situation in which you could perhaps prop up another government? Because if you don't do that, is there not a risk of perhaps sending your voters into the election not knowing what you will do?
This is a general election. This is a chance for millions of people across the country to decide what they want. And as Liberal Democrat leader, what I am offering to the public is a Liberal Democrat government. And in order to do that, people need to vote Liberal Democrat. And we know that there are seats, like the one we are standing in today, which has never been a seat that the Liberal Democrats have been in serious contention before. But we absolutely know now that Chuka Umunna has got an excellent chance of being the MP here. We know that from the doorstep conversations we're having. We know that from the polls more widely, the research that we have been doing. So that is the chance that we have for change, and that is what the message we are taking to the public. I don't think anybody, any commentators, any journalists, anybody should be saying to people that they can only have this person or that person, Boris Johnson or Jeremy Corbyn, as Prime Minister. I want as many Liberal Democrat MPs as possible. I want a Liberal Democrat government. We're going to set out our manifesto in days to come. Our platform of stopping Brexit is absolutely clear, and Liberal Democrats will argue for that in a new Parliament, I hope from a position of majority government. But more Liberal Democrats make it more likely that we will be able to stop Brexit. Ben from the Independent.
Thank you. Joe, why is it that you're willing to stand down candidates that are running against 4 of the other parties and some independent MPs, but not against Labour MPs who are committed and have been for years to a people's vote, even in places like Canterbury, where some of your own supporters say that risks allowing a Tory Brexiteer to oust an incumbent Labour Remainer? If you were really serious about stopping Brexit, wouldn't that be your strategy?
Look, we are very serious about stopping Brexit, and there's plenty of people in the Labour Party who have recognised that their party is not at all serious about stopping Brexit and have joined the Liberal Democrats as a result, and some of them are sitting as MPs in this room today. Look, you mentioned Canterbury. Rosie Duffield's, absolutely great. I think she's wonderful. She'd be very welcome to come and join the Liberal Democrats and be a Liberal Democrat MP. Because we do share many values. But she's still in the Labour Party, and people who are still in the Labour Party and who are standing on a manifesto that is going to be a manifesto that is about delivering Brexit, that is about putting Jeremy Corbyn into number 10, that's not something that we can support. And we have a duty to give people in the country the opportunity to vote for candidates who are standing for parties who are unambiguously about stopping Brexit. That's what we will do. Claire.
Hi, Claire Ellicott from the Daily Mail. You've just criticised Donald Trump. If you become Prime Minister, would you refuse to deal with him? Would you end the special relationship? And if Boris Johnson wins the election and delivers Brexit, what would the Lib Dems' Europe policy be?
So I wouldn't refuse to engage with Donald Trump. There's plenty of world leaders who we have significant differences with in terms of values, in terms of human rights, in terms of their stances, and where nonetheless a diplomatic relationship is something which has to and must continue and is important. I think there's a big difference between having a relationship and engaging and rolling out the red carpet, which is what this government has done for Donald Trump. And I do not think that was the right thing to do, because I think he stands in fundamental opposition to so many of our values, not least in terms of his comments about women, about Muslims, about people with disabilities. And I think as a result, that state visit with all of the pomp and ceremony that went alongside it was absolutely the wrong thing to do. And I've not given up on stopping Brexit. We've got a choice here. The public have got a choice. People can still stop Brexit. Liberal Democrats will always stand for our values of internationalism, of being a key, pivotal part of the European Union, and being a leading voice within Europe. Because we should remember the way in which the United Kingdom has shaped Europe. If you look at what the EU put forward in terms of the climate talks and the great progress that was made, my colleague Ed Davey, when he was Climate Change Secretary, was absolutely instrumental in getting the European Union to a strong position on that. So we have played on so many issues a leading role within Europe, and that is the role that we should have within Europe. Alex from Bloomberg.
Hi, thank you very much. I was wondering what your message is to Leave voters and how you would bring the country together in the event of a Liberal Democrat government that revoked Article 50.
I don't think anyone is under any illusion about the challenge that exists within our country in terms of bringing the country together. And I say that not just as someone who's been living the Brexit experience for the last 3.5 years, but as a Scot, where for the last 8 years, in the run-up to the independence referendum, Scotland has also been very significantly divided as a society. So the first thing I would say is I don't think there is a quick and easy route to resolve that, and I think anyone that pretends that there is not being straightforward. But I do think that there are significant issues that led to the Brexit vote. Much has been written about those different motivations, but that many people were unhappy with the way things have been, particularly the way in which the economy has not been working well enough for far too many people, and those issues need to be addressed. And a Liberal Democrat government would be addressing those issues. And I think that is the way to bring people together with a shared vision of what our future should be. Paris.
Joe, can you rule out putting any Labour leader into number 10 who says that they would allow a second independence referendum in Scotland? And if not, how can you say you're fighting for the Union?
Look, Liberal Democrats are absolutely clear. We are against having a second independence referendum, and it is yet another reason why Jeremy Corbyn should not be anywhere near number 10, because he has made pretty clear that he is not averse to having a second independence referendum. I mean, I know that many people within the Labour Party have a wish that their party was different and that somehow it's going to change and there will be some great new Labour hope. But the Labour Party is where it is. It is in the clutches of Jeremy Corbyn and the people around him, and I do not see the chance that that will change significantly, even if the leadership might change. The direction, I think, is very unlikely to. So it's a pretty hypothetical that I think you're talking about there, Paris. Rebecca, from Top Radio.
So you're basing all your campaign around Brexit. So what if we leave on the 31st of January? Are you making your party becoming a lost cause party without explaining all your policies?
We've not left. You know, we're standing here. It's the 5th of November, which is after the 29th of March. It's after the 11th of April. It's after the 31st of October, and we have not left. I have to say, actually, on last Thursday, my son said to me, so good news and bad news today. Good news, it's Halloween. Bad news, Brexit. And I said, oh, actually, Brexit's not happening today. So he was very happy. And had quite a lot of sweets. So we have not left yet. And that gives me hope. That gives me real hope. So I'm not going to assume that we're leaving on the 31st of January. What I would say, though, more widely is the reason that people are Remainers, the reason that people want to stay in the European Union is not just about a sort of bureaucratic relationship, about the functions of different aspects of the European Union. It is a wider symptom of their values about how they view the world. And that is the fundamental shift that has happened in our politics, and that has happened. That is my very, very strong view, is that has happened. And as Liberal Democrats, we are very, very firmly on the liberal, open, inclusive side of that political divide that is not going to go away anytime soon. I've got Rachel from ITV.
Hi, Joe. A number of defections to the Liberal Democrats over recent weeks. Is there any Tory or Labour MP that you wouldn't accept into the party?
Yes. I'm sure it would be very entertaining for you if I would name names, but I'll just let your imagination do the work. Yeah, there certainly would be. And, there's people, I think the other thing I would say more generally is, for people who share our liberal values, they are always going to be welcome in the Liberal Democrats and to join us as members and to be part of our Lib Dem family. There will be people who do not share our values, but who share some of our goals. And I'm always happy to work with people where we share a goal. You know, I worked with Ian Blackford on the bill for holding a general election as the best way to stop Brexit. I obviously disagree fundamentally with Ian Blackford on the issue of Scotland's place in the UK. I worked with Andrea Leadsom on improving the system in Parliament to help staff be protected from bullying and harassment. You know, on many, if not most, other issues, Andrea Leadsom and I are poles apart. So people who share our values are welcome to join us. And beyond that, then I will work pragmatically and constructively with people where we share an objective.
Can I just add a follow-up then? Because if you will work with people who share not your values, but some of your goals, surely then, if Labour are offering you a referendum, that would be enough, even as you've outlined. They don't necessarily share all of your values.
I'm not going to put Jeremy Corbyn into number 10 for the reasons that I outlined, but I think it's fair to say that in any scenario where there was a bill in Parliament to introduce a people's vote if we have not been able to stop Brexit through electing a Lib Dem majority government, that we will be enthusiastically backing any such bill. So, you know, Liberal Democrats will continue to fight to stop Brexit in every way that we can. I saw one other hand over here, and I don't know if that's possibly the last one.
Thank you very much. Just talking, it's Emily Ashton at BuzzFeed. Talking about the ITV debate, you say you were excluded from that because it was sexist. Do you really think you were excluded because you were a woman from that debate?
Well, maybe they're just scared of me, you know. But there is something going on when in 2010 you had Gordon Brown, David Cameron and Nick Clegg lined up doing a three-way debate, even though the Liberal Democrats at that time were polling very similarly to how we are now, and in fact there was a much bigger gap then between the Lib Dems and the other parties' poll ratings. So if Nick Clegg could be included in the debates in 2010, you know, what's the difference in 2019? And I just posit that, you know, one of the differences is that I'm a woman. And, you know, I think, you know, most people in this room will recognise that sexism is still alive and well in this country, so I think it has to at least be one of the possible explanations. As I say, they might just be for it. Thank you very much, everyone. I really appreciate you coming so long.